Well, here we are, everybody, on the eve, not literally, but close to the eve of the trial of Brian Walshe, a man who is accused of violently and disgustingly cutting down his wife and cutting her into pieces before disposing of her scattered throughout the Boston area. It is a case that is offensive to everybody's sensibilities, and it's just infuriating. It's just infuriating to watch him sitting there in court as lawyers for both sides argue about the different rules of how everything's going to happen in the trial starting in December. So today was his last pretrial hearing. We're going to get into it. We'll do a little bit of a background on Anna Walshe, his victim, well, his alleged victim, let's say, and what we are going to expect with this trial coming up. Stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish, right here on this channel titled, not all that creatively, Gavin Fish. Be sure to tell me in the comments where you are from. I'd like to see where you guys are checking in from. I don't know. I just really enjoy hearing about or reading where everybody is from. So put that in the comments in the live stream, or if you're on the rewatch crew, put it in the comments for me, will you? Hey, today we are talking about Anna Walshe. Anna Walshe was a 39-year-old mother of two, if I remember correctly. She was an executive that worked for Tishman Speyer. She lived part-time in Washington, D.C., part-time in Cohasset, Massachusetts. Her husband, Brian Walshe. Oh, they're three sons. I remember that now. Yeah, mother of three. She lived with her husband there in Cohasset with their three children, their three sons, and she would commute back and forth to Washington, D.C. Now, on New Year's Day, 2023, she goes missing. Husband has no idea where she was. No idea. But I just hate this story so much. They were having all sorts of marital issues. There were affairs. There was federal crime. There was so much going on. In fact, it's one of those things where I am reminded to not wish for the lives of other people, instead being grateful for your own challenges. Because when I look at this couple, behind the smiles, behind, the Instagram beautiful photos, the giant diamonds, this was a troubled relationship that ended ultimately in Anna's death. Wow, please excuse me. Remember, during the live stream, if you want me to see a comment, put GF in the comment. That will help me see where you are from. Let's see. Julie Martino says, Happy Monday. It was a happy Monday. And you know why? You know why? Because this is the week. This is anniversary week. This is the week that my sweetie pie, my snuggly bear, my one and only, and I celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary. And we started this week, we're doing multiple things this week. We started by going down to Pittsburgh, and it doesn't matter what we were doing together. It's not nefarious. It's not a secret. It's just we got to spend some time together, just her and me. And it was a glorious, glorious way to start our anniversary week. Our next little date will be Wednesday night. So on Wednesday, day after tomorrow, we will not be doing a live stream because that is our actual anniversary, and we'll be headed down to the Pittsburgh area for some scrumptious victuals. But thank you very, very much. Shay says you agree, you just adore the way I think. Well, thank you very much. Angie Baby still from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and I never believe you. Yeah, because come on. Moose Jaw. Okay, all right. You know what? You friendly neighbors to our north, you're okay. You can name places Moose Jaw if you want. We got Indiana in the house, Jacksonville, Florida, Cairns, Australia. Glad you're here. Fort Worth, West Virginia, Saginaw up in Michigan, North Carolina, Illinois. We got Alabama in the house. Ireland. Ireland is with us this evening. So glad you're here. Modesto. Julie Martino in Modesto tonight. That's is Modesto the place where we would go to the water slides? Or was that like, I don't remember. But we did seem to, Modesto does have a very, very good airport for those of you who are aviationally inclined, as I am. Rainy Los Angeles in town, southeast Idaho, Erie, PA. Mooney with us as always from Virginia. We got North Carolina, more Texas. Content Angel says, I need to remember that when people portray themselves as rich and happy online, yes, yeah. The fact of the matter is, all of us have struggles, all of us have issues, and we only put up in public and on social media, it seems, the stuff that makes us look all happy and everything. So yeah. So Erie, PA. I thought I got you in Erie, PA. That's good. Thank you for the happy anniversary notes, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know. Every woman deserves a kind hubby like Gavin. Well, again, we put our best foot forward online, right? But I certainly deserve her. 26 years. Yes, thank you very much. North Carolina here, Judy Studio says, I wanted to ask if you caught Brian at the end and his lawyers got up for a sidebar with the state, put something in his jacket pocket, and I think it was his attorney's pen. I did not catch that. I did not catch it. I watched it on double time to try to catch up with everybody. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, Manteca. That's right, not Modesto, but it is close. You're right. And yes, that was a good place to go water sliding. Though, for a Sacramento kid, it was way easier to go to Cal Expo. What was the name? Was that just called Water World or something like that at Cal Expo? Later, it turned into Raging Waters or something. So, yeah. All right. Very cool. Okay, thank you guys for being here. Let us get into the story real quick. And remember, put GF in your comment if you want me to see it. Let's see. I want to make sure that... Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't prepare any headlines. What the devil, Gavin? You know what, though? It's very easy to find them. All right. Let's take a look at some headlines before we get into this. Here we go. True crime headlines. All right, true crime headlines brought to you by CrimeCod, my true crime news website. This article brought to us by Kate Bird. Headline, drug dealer freed by Trump returns to prison on assault charges. Oh dear, we try to stay non-political, but let's read on. Jonathan Braun, who received clemency in 2021, received a 27-month prison sentence following accusations of physical and SA. Dateline Brooklyn. A convicted drug dealer who was freed by President Donald Trump in 2021 has been sentenced to federal prison again after prosecutors accused him of physical and SA. Jonathan Braun, 42, received a sentence of 27 months in prison, followed by 3.5 years of additional supervised release, according to the New York Times. The sentencing came after Braun violated the terms of his release, given when Trump commuted his 10-year prison sentence in the final hours of his first term. Wow. Oh, dear. Come on. Braun was initially... this kills me. I don't even want to read this. Braun was initially sent back to federal custody in April after he was accused of physically assaulting a 3-year-old child. Mr. Braun. That incident led to his detention while awaiting a hearing for the violation of his release. He is currently being held in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, according to federal inmate records, and the rest of the story is there. You can read it on crimecod.com. One more manhunt. This brought to us by Jacob. Manhunt expands in Texas after 17-year-old girl shot, run over at party. What? I didn't prepare for these. I'm not emotionally prepared for this stuff, guys. I was just talking to our son, our oldest son, who, listen, guys, it is normal for a father to brag on his children, right? It's normal. But, well, first it's going to start with a brag on myself, okay? I am a very good portrait photographer. I'm very good at it. It started with training in my high school, followed by a career stint at JCPenney Portrait Studio when I was 16 and 17 years old, followed by actual study. I just love the art form of human portraits. I love human lines. But it's not about you, Gavin. That's a tangent. It's not enough of a tangent to hit the audio, but a little bit. Anyway, I was just talking to our son, and it reminded me that I took the most beautiful portrait of him for our Christmas cards. Like, he might be the prettiest man ever to walk the earth. He is good looking. So listen, if you have daughters in their early to mid 20s that are looking for a good young man, hit me up. Go to gavinfish.com. Go to gavinfish.com, click the little icon up here and say, hey, I've got we're looking for a delightful, lovely young woman to pair up with the world's prettiest young man, the most photogenic, okay? He's going to kill me. Anyway, I was talking to him, and we were talking about, because I'm in this whole nostalgia pit still from turning 50 and having a hard time with that. I'm spending all of my time thinking about this time when I was 17, 18 years old and having the time of my life and just living in a picturesque place with terrific friends. And then I read something like this. Authorities say 18-year-old Deshaun Shuggs fled after the chaos on Lucky Road, leaving a community desperate for answers after a 17-year-old girl is shot. Let's read on. Dateline, San Antonio, Texas. 17-year-old Aliana Ujueda arrived at the Southwest Behar County house party in the early hours of September 28th with, as the Behar County Sheriff's Office put it, her whole life ahead of her. According to the Sheriff's Office, she was fatally shot around 2:30 in the morning on the 13640 to 13900 block of Lucky Road, where deputies later found her lying in the roadway. With a gunshot wound to the head. Come on. That is just heartbreaking, man. Authorities say the suspected gunman, 18-year-old Deshaun Shuggs, I think is probably how you say that, fled and is now wanted on a murder charge. According to KCAT's reporting, the sheriff's office said a caller described a violent altercation involving several people that escalated before the shooting. Oh my goodness. Witness accounts cited the San Antonio Express News, indicate witness accounts cited by the San Antonio Express News indicate the fight spilled into the street where multiple gunshots were heard. That we just live in a sad day where altercations can turn into gun battle. Ah, man. You know what? And I'd like to say that we're going to get into a happier mood, but we're not. Why? Let's finish headlines first.
True crime headlines.
Yeah, always just check in on crimecod.com. Over on CrimeCod, you can actually sign up for our newsletter. We send it out de vez en cuando, just every once in a while. And yeah, it's a great site, if I do say so myself. It is my site. I really shouldn't laud it too much, but I just really am very proud of Jacob and Kate for continuing to write terrific articles on CrimeCod. And by the way, if you have any aspirations of being a journalist or being a reporter, that is a trainable skill that you could learn by writing for CrimeCod. You are welcome to do that. Okay, news is not going to get any better, y'all. Why? Because we're talking about the case of Anna Walshe. Let's do just a quick little reminder of this case. And then what I've done is I've prepared a few clips from today's pretrial hearing. I've got 5 of them, I think. And it basically they're going through the motions in limine to to basically set the rules of the trial. But let's talk about this real quick. And I actually had, let me see, I had a Gavin. Let me open up this document real quick. I just want to talk a little bit about Anna. And then we'll talk a little bit about Brian, and then we'll talk a little bit about the case. Does that sound good? All right. So Anna Walshe, Serbian-American woman from Cohasset, Mass., dual citizen of both Serbia and the U.S. Aside from Cohasset, she also lived in other parts of Massachusetts, including Marblehead, Revere, Lynn, Boston, Lenox, and Pittsfield. She previously lived in Washington, D.C. She actually had a home there still, Falls Church, Virginia. This is a woman who worked really, really hard. From 2002 to 2008, she attended the University of Belgrade, where she earned her bachelor's degree in French language and literature. By the way, okay, this is a tangent. This is a total tangent. Here we go. Okay, I am considering trying to learn another language. And French is the one that is speaking to me the most right now. France, besides Germany, is probably the foreign nation, well, besides Argentina and Germany, let's say, it's probably the foreign nation that I've spent the most time in. I'm considering learning French. I don't want to do Duolingo. I want to do something conversational. If any of you are from France or are or French speaking and want to join a little, maybe a WhatsApp little group where we could speak to each other in French to practice, that would be great. Okay, that's my tangent. So she earned her bachelor's in French language and literature. From May 2005 to September 2005, she worked at the Inn at Little Washington in Washington, Virginia as a housekeeping attendant. So this is a woman that, like, she worked her way up. There's a lot to admire about somebody who does that. So much to admire. From May 2006 to September 2006, she worked there as a server. And then May to August 2007, she worked for Interchange in New York City as a program logistics coordinator. In 2008, she met Brian at the Wheatley Hotel in Lenox while she was married to a guy named Mark Knipp. From May 2008 to September 2010, she worked in that hotel as a reservations manager. From 2009 to 2010, she went to Cornell University in Ithaca, where she earned a master's certificate in essentials of hospitality management. Okay, so it's like a continuing education kind of a thing. Not a degree, but learning the craft, right? Which is awesome. Again, somebody who is finding her way, moving her way up, right? Let's see, from September 2010 to February 2012, she was the assistant manager at the Willard Intercontinental Hotel in Washington, D.C. She continued to work there as a front desk manager and front desk operations manager, basically to 2015. In 2014, she divorced her first husband, and this is an interesting little tidbit. She told in 2014 the Metropolitan Police that Brian made a statement over the telephone that he was going to kill her and a friend, which, I mean, it just begs the question. Why did that lead to a marriage? Why did that lead to a marriage? Now, I know that there's so many reasons that I don't understand. I'm not qualified to understand. Psychological reasons. There might be some coercion and all that. But, ladies, we have an Uncle Gavin moment here, okay? Listen. If a man tells you, now this is coming from a man, okay, that is evidenced by the giant beard. If a man ever tells you that he's going to kill you, it's not a joke. And if he says it's a joke, it's not funny. Run, run, run far, far away. Because one of the things that I have learned in this journey of being part of the true crime community is that the men, and it's a small segment of the population of men at the extreme that act on this, but all men have a deep and instinctive propensity to great violence. Okay? And I'm telling you this because I care about you. This is something that you take seriously. So if a man says, I'm going to kill you, that is not a joke. If he says it's a joke, it is not a funny joke. It's nothing to joke about. Run far. Please. I'm begging you. Okay? Because I see pictures of this beautiful young woman who is no longer inhabiting this earth of ours. And if she got a red flag early on, this is not to blame her. It's not to blame her at all. It's just, let's learn from this, right? Red flag, run. I'm begging you. Okay. She continued her career in hotels, including at Taj Hotels. I think they were married. Yeah, they married at Emmanuel Episcopal Church in Boston on December 21st of 2015. 2016, she gave birth to her first son. 2019 gave birth to her second son. So her first son is what, 10 years old? Not quite, about to turn 10. Her second son is, 5 or 6. And then she continues her work in hospitality. In 2020, she gave birth to her third son. So, yeah, her youngest is 5-ish, right? Okay, a little bit about Brian. He met Anna once again in 2008 at the Wheatley Hotel. Now, Brian, let's not bring up this one. Let's bring up this one. I like this one. On May 3rd, 2011, he attempted to consign 2 Andy Warhol paintings to a gallery in New York City, but the gallery declined to accept the paintings because he did not have a bill of sale. On August 12th, 2014, Anna told the Met Police that he made a statement over the telephone. Oh, yeah, that one we got. They got married in 2015. Okay, let's see. In 2016, he sold fake paintings of Warhol to an art dealer in Los Angeles and a buyer in France for $225,000. In May 2018, he was arrested and charged with wire fraud, interstate transportation for a scheme to defraud, possession of converted goods, and unlawful monetary transaction. And then on April 1st, 2021, he pleaded guilty to wire fraud, and this becomes to all of the charges. This becomes important because it goes to his character in his trial. And then Anna went missing on January 1st, 2023 from their home in Cohasset. We're going to learn a couple details about that in the trial clips today. On January 4th, he told cops he spent time running errands at Whole Foods and CVS for his ailing mother on January 1st, but video footage showed that these visits did not occur. He told investigators he only left the house in Cohasset on January 2nd to take his oldest son out for ice cream, but security video showed him donning a black surgical mask and blue surgical gloves that day at a nearby Home Depot in Rockland, Massachusetts, where he made a cash purchase of $450 worth of mops, tarps, tape, buckets, and drop cloths. He was arrested on the 8th. On the 9th, he pleaded not guilty to a charge of misleading the police. And then he was indicted for her murder on March 30th of 2023. And that leads us to basically what we're talking about now. Let's bring Anna back up. All right. Couple things that I think we should talk about. Couple things that I want to make sure that I didn't miss. Yeah, federal case involving the fake Warhols. The prosecution's theory into the Anna's death is that there were just serious money problems at home. There was a life insurance package naming Brian as the sole beneficiary. There are some allegations of an affair, like court filings say that Anna had been in an extramarital relationship in D.C. for several months before she went missing. Prosecutors say Brian suspected the affair and had his mother hire a private investigator to surveil Anna in late 2022. So in November and December, just so we can remember this case just a little bit, Anna actually traveled abroad with her boyfriend around Thanksgiving. And on Christmas Eve, she was in D.C. with him and heads back to Massachusetts for Christmas with Brian and the kids, saying that she missed a flight. She said that she drove to Boston because she had missed her flight. I think probably she was just with her beau, and she arrived on the evening of the 25th. Prosecutors say she later tells her friend Alyssa that there was a big fight over Christmas, that she gave Brian an ultimatum about resolving his federal case, even if it means jail time, so the family can be together. Now then, there's some searches that Brian makes on his computer. Again, this guy, not the sharpest tack in the shed. Wait, is that how not the sharpest tool in the shed, not the sharpest tack in the what? I can't remember that. Doesn't matter. Okay. He was doing searches on his devices. So dumb. So on the 25th, he did a search tied to the DC boyfriend's name. On the 27th, he was searching about divorce. What is the best state for a man to divorce in? Also on the 27th, there's a search about a porn title that includes a cheating wife scenario, which prosecutors argue go to his knowledge and suspicions about the affair. It's the 28th through the 30th that he hires a private investigator to follow Anna in D.C. On the 29th, there's a dinner in DC with Alyssa Kirby. Anna has this dinner where Anna allegedly talks about the Christmas fight and about wanting the family together in DC. This is going to go to the state of mind evidence that was discussed in the hearing today. We'll get to. On the 30th, Anna flies back to Boston from DC for a New Year's weekend, never to return to DC. So if there are any questions that you guys have or comments, let's see what you guys are talking about. Let's see. Yeah, Pammy is agreeing with me. Believe the threats. Believe the threats. Judy Studios says, truth about threats. My daddy was only alive a brief moment of my life, but the one piece of advice was, if a man is mean to a cat, he'll be mean to a woman. Totally. Yeah, that is such good advice. Yeah, and our Tina says, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And listen, I want to extend as much understanding as grace as possible in this one. I know it's hard. And but the number of women that we cover on this channel that end up dead, man. Yes, indeed. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Joanne Marie says there's absolutely no humor to someone threatening your life. If they can say it, they're capable of doing it. I believe that. Not the sharpest crayon on the box, maybe. M.L. Loftus says, I hope when all is said and done that it only takes the jury 30 minutes or even less for guilty. Yeah. Bonnie says, I walked away from a toxic relationship. My father helped me. Good on your dad. He was a controlling, horrible man. Don't let those horrible men know you are going. Go to anywhere he can't find you. Ask for help. Yeah. Yep. There's an organization that I'm loosely aware of because I know one of their executives that has made an app that they do not advertise. It's only made known through women's shelters, where, because women who are in relationships like that, some women tend to go back and forth. They leave, they go back, they leave, they go back, right? So women at shelters can get access to this app that is not traceable. Like an abusive partner wouldn't be able to know that you're talking to somebody who is a therapist or a psychologist or a social worker or something like that. So yeah, just got to be so careful, guys. Okay, this brings us, okay, so in a pretrial hearing like this, this actually is an indication to me that trials going forward. I would be shocked if we got to December 1st and there was some sort of plea deal. I would just be absolutely shocked, because in this hearing, which lasted, I think, when I was in looking at the video, from the time that he was escorted in to the time that the judge left the bench, was like an hour and 31 minutes, something like that. There were, during the hearing, this is basically the last conference, unless there's some huge argument between the sides, the last conference where the judge is going to make rulings on motions called motions in limine. They pronounce it limine. It's limine, right? I think that if the law is going to use Latin, they should pronounce Latin, but doesn't matter. Okay. These motions in limine, it just kills part of my soul to say that. The judge is going to rule on these things and give boundaries within which the trial can proceed. Because remember, the judge is the judge of the law only, not the judge of the facts. In a trial, the judge of the facts, the judges of the facts are the members of the jury. So the judge is setting up the boundaries within which they must behave during court. So I have pulled out 5 short clips from the hearing that I think are important for us to watch. So the first one is only about 2.5 minutes long, and this has to do with opening statements and I guess evidence or anything that might be presented, any visual aid that might be presented to the jury. Okay, and I'm going to warn you, for those of you wearing earbuds, headphones, earbuds, whatever, I have bumped up the sound on this, and the judge did a very good job of speaking into the microphone. Nobody else did, so I've had to bump up the audio. You may want to back off on the audio just a little bit on your device so that it doesn't blow your eardrums out, because it's highly compressed when the judge speaks. It never goes above 6 dB down, but it's highly compressed. So I just want to give you that little warning. I'm going to mute my mic, and let's watch this short clip.
Paper number 188 is Commonwealth's motion in limine number 2. It's to notice of any visual aids defense intends to display during opening statements. The defendant objected to that. Is the defendant still objecting to that?
It is. We are.
The motion is allowed. As to opening statements, I want to see any chalks that you're intending to use. It's for your own good. Because if I determine that there's something on that chalk that is inadmissible, you are not going to be able to use it, because you're not going to be able to turn it around. Go right ahead and state your objection on the record.
Well, Judge, I would just like to explain something.
By the way, a chalk is just a term that they use in court to say a visual aid, a chart, a photo, a whatever. They refer to them all as chalks.
I object to it for a very simple reason. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never had an objection in either my openings or my closings when I've used visual aids. Secondly, I only include visual aids that I know are going to be exhibits that are admitted. If I have any question about anything that I would use visually for the jurors, I approach the DAs, I approach the court, make sure that we're all in agreement that's an exhibit. I don't use
Then
chalks.
why are you objecting to it then?
Because it gives, if I give it to the Commonwealth before I make my opening, they have a roadmap, they have a preview of what we're going to say.
Everyone's supposed to be getting a preview of the evidence.
Not of my opening and not of my thoughts.
All right, I'm not going to engage in a discussion about this. Any chalks that you intend to use that are not agreed to exhibits need to be shown to the court and to opposing counsel.
Okay, Judge, just so I understand.
And it can be the morning of, but it's going to be before you're holding something up in front of 16 jurors that we spend 2 weeks picking a jury for. No, not happening.
And I don't want it to happen, but let me just clarify something. I understand the court's ruling so far. Chalks, but not what we know to be exhibits.
If you have, and I know you have, agreed to exhibits, then you don't need to address that. Those are agreed to. You know it's agreed to. You can show those.
Fine.
If you have chalks, different thing, that you want to put in front of the jury, I am not letting you stand up before the jury without me seeing it first, and the Commonwealth see it first. It can be the morning of, but I do not want you showing a chalk to our impaneled jurors without me seeing it first.
I understand, Judge.
I thought, I mean, it got a little heated, right? But I think that's perfectly reasonable and kind of I don't know, it just seems like commonplace, right? It's kind of commonplace. I don't know why. I have no idea why he would object to that. In fact, I kind of got down on Massachusetts courtrooms in the whole Karen Reed trial debacle. I was like, oh man, what are they doing up there in Massachusetts? These people, these courtrooms, what is going on? But this judge, what is the name of this judge? Brian Walsh, judge name. Brian Walsh, judge name. What's her name? Judge replaced in Diane Frenieri, right? Yeah, I think that's correct. So I'm really pleased with this judge. I think that she's not taking any nonsense in her court. I think that she wants a fair trial. She did say, hey, this is for your own good, right? Does not want objections during the opening or closing statements. That seems perfectly reasonable, and I have no problem with that at all. Tell me your comments in the live chat. I'd really love to hear what you guys are thinking on that. But to me, it just seems okay. All right, next clip that I want to show you has to do with reputational testimony. This is pretty good. Here we go.
Paper number 190 is Commonwealth's number 4, notice of any proposed reputation testimony. It also relates to, I have them in my notes, see paper number 193 below. 193 refers to any bad character, bad reputation of the victim or any of the witnesses, and alleged prior bad acts of the victim or any witnesses. The defense has objected to that, arguing that he intends to bring in evidence of general reputation evidence. Is that right?
Your Honor, at this point, we don't have any notice of specific reputation evidence that we'd either offer through cross-examination or in any case in chief for us.
Okay.
The concern I do have is the Commonwealth has indicated they expect to introduce evidence, quote unquote, that Anna Walsh was a loving mother who would never have abandoned her children and was a dedicated employee.
My mute button. I just don't want to wear headphones, but this is really interesting that they're objecting to, I guess, positive reputational testimony about the victim, but they don't have any negative reputational testimony that they want to bring, which I find super interesting.
So I'm sure the government is aware of the restrictions on how this evidence will come in, but that may or may not be relevant. And so I'd ask the court to revisit this before they seek to put this information in.
All right, Commonwealth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the Commonwealth does plan to call witnesses who will testify as to their observations of the victim at her employment. Her employer will testify, as well as her former employer, who was the New Year's Eve guest, will testify as to her.
Is it Metlu or Mutlu, or how do you pronounce his last name?
Mutlu, Your Honor.
Mutlu?
Mutlu.
Okay, I'll try to remember that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The Commonwealth will be introducing evidence to those persons regarding the victim's work ethics and
Observations or interactions with the children?
yes, Your Honor, observations and interactions with the children.
All right. I'm not going to give you any firm rulings on it. You raised your objections at the time. I will tell you generally that I probably will allow observations of her, not to an excessive amount, whatever that in my mind becomes excessive, but general observations as to the victim's interactions with their children is permissible.
Your Honor, I would just add that the law is clear on this. They can't have specific acts, so an observation would be a witness giving their opinion or testimony on a specific act. And so that's not admissible. What they're allowed
You're right, opinion or testimony.
So observations, how are observations of her with her children relevant, which I suspect may or may not be relevant once we start? And it can't just be a limited number of people. So one person from her work saying that she had a good work ethic, the case law says you cannot do that. It has to be the general reputation of a community. And so I guess we will just raise the objections at the time. I just wanted to put the court on notice that
Right.
any of this testimony could just be inflammatory and prejudicial and invoke sympathy of the jury to hear that she was a great mother and a great employee.
All right. I hear your objection, and I encourage you, and I know that you don't need any encouragement to make the real-time objection at the time of the trial. And I'm just trying to give you some basic guideposts of what my present thinking is with regard to that evidentiary issue. Anyone want anything more on that particular motion?
Okay, so it looks to me like the defense here is going to be working very hard to maybe not paint Anna as the cheating spouse, but also not allow her to be painted as the doting, caring mother, which, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that is, it's just interesting to me, I guess. Melissa says, I like this judge. Never thought I'd be rooting for the Commonwealth. Judy Studio says that mark where he puts something in his jacket is about 140-ish, right at the end when they have the sidebar. Okay, I don't have that in my clips, I don't think, but I do. I'll go back and take a look at it. Dashelle Bailey Reese or Rice says, please don't involve the children. Yeah. Mooney, so defense seems to only want victim blaming. Nothing positive. Got it. Let's see if there's anything else. Pamiga, I know you don't need encouragement to make objections is a very clever shade throw. Okay, I don't know if it was shade, but she definitely said it. Let's go to the next one here. This one, if I remember correctly, is about showing videos and images of Anna. This one lasts about 5 minutes. This has to do with it's very interesting to me, the rules of the courtroom, right? Like you'll hear her say in this, I think it's in this clip, you can show pictures, but don't show too many. Show a reasonable amount of pictures. Don't overdo it, which I found very interesting. Let's have a listen.
Paper number 11 of the Commonwealth's motion in limine to admit photos and a short video of Anna Walshe as she normally appeared. The defendant objected. So I haven't seen the video. Does the Commonwealth have a way to show me the video?
I believe we could email it to you, Your Honor.
I meant like right now.
Your Honor, I have it on my computer. If you can give me a moment, I can walk up to the bench.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Generally, what is the video of?
It's her with her 3 children on a rug in the living room of the home.
And why is it important?
The rug, an identical rug was found in the dumpster outside of the defendant's mother's home.
Your Honor, I can approach, but just what might make it easy is the video is unnecessary. They could do a screenshot of the video which portrays the rug in question. If I could approach and I can show you that.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I think I do an edit here so it's not totally long.
It's good that you, there is no reason that the video needs to be played. So just take a shot of it, show the shot. Now, with regard to the other photos, you need to use, it's sort of like autopsy photos, in my view. Use the least number you can use to get, I understand that's one picture she's wearing a necklace and one more picture she's showing the watch or something else. But use the least number that you can use.
If I may, Your Honor?
Yes.
So I agree with that, and we tried to cull it down. So there's one with a jacket. There's one with a watch.
The black jacket?
Yes. There's one with a watch, and there's one with a necklace. We can probably take away 1 or 2 from what we submitted, because I believe that there's one where she's with Mr. Mutlu wearing the watch, so maybe we can delete that one. So we're talking probably about 4.
Your Honor, the other issue is those photos can also be cropped, and there can be a stipulation that the cropped photograph showing a person wearing the necklace, the coat, is in fact a photograph of Anna Walsh.
The defense really just does not want Anna Walsh like humanized. And it does seem like the court is sympathetic to that. Like she finds it maybe prejudicial to the jury. I'm not sure how I feel about that, though the judge is judging on the law, not on the sentiment of it, right? But it does feel to me like the defense is going, listen, crop it in. Don't show her, show the necklace. Show the watch, show the jacket, crop it in so that the jury doesn't come to the radical conclusion that our victim here was a lovely person. And I wonder, I just wonder about this, okay? One of the reasons that I think that cases like Anna Walsh's hit so hard with us is because we value beauty in our society, and she was a beautiful woman. And so I wonder if this idea that look at the difference between these two people, okay? Just look at the difference between these two people. First we have Anna, then we have Brian, right? We have Anna, we have Brian. Maybe they are full on going, listen, it's disadvantageous for us to keep showing our victim as this beautiful woman and her assailant as the chubby schlubby dude that he is, right? Federally convicted art, fraudster that he is. Maybe that's what they're going for. They're saying it's prejudicial to show Anna as this beautiful person when the jury has to look at this guy in court.
So they have sent a parade of photographs. I think that there's other ways to serve that purpose, and some might be stipulations. So this.
Well, I'll let you work out whether you have any stipulations, but even if you want it that way, doesn't mean that the Commonwealth wants it that way. And the Commonwealth gets to, hold on one second.
I did a jump on this one, so we don't have to wait for it.
I got to take a break.
Okay.
All right. Will the session be seated?
So I did that edit.
All right. I think I was saying that you may be able to reach a stipulation. I don't know if you can, if you can't. But I think I was just about ready to say that the Commonwealth gets to, within the bounds of the evidentiary bounds, gets to present their case.
I appreciate the analogy to autopsy photos. And so let me go back and see if I can do something that's more palatable to the defense.
That's frankly how I see it. I mean, I understand the significance of the various items that we've just listed to the Commonwealth's case, or I think I understand generally what the significance is to the Commonwealth's case. So I'm inclined to let them have the photos that they're going to need to make those arguments. But they don't need to be inflammatory. And so, yeah, just look through the lens of an autopsy photo.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that, and I'll work on it.
All right.
Okay, so I'd love your comments on that. I just love your comments on that. Let's see what anybody. Sharky Sharona is saying he is creepy AF. Pammy saying she's beautiful, strong, ambitious, smart, kind, hardworking. Yeah, defense does not want anything to come in unless it helps them only. Sure, but you know what? That's what the defense should do. That's what they're arguing for. They want to be able to. They want to be able to get their client off, right? That's their job. Mooney says, it feels ick to me. Don't humanize the victim. Yeah, a little bit. Terry asks, since her death, who has custody of the children? Has this man received the life insurance policy? Has there been a trust set up for the children? Did he set up how these children would be cared for? Now, I believe, and I believe that Anna's mother or parents have the children. About the financial things, I don't know. I do not think that a life insurance policy would be paid out to a beneficiary who committed murder of that policy insured, that insured person. Just Ducky is saying state has the children. Her mom is trying to get them, but is having visa issues. Okay, so we're going to have to, let me do a quick search on that, see if we can get an answer for it. Who has custody of Brian and Anna Walsh's children? Yeah, they are in the custody of the DCF, the Department of Children and Families. And the children were initially cared for by Brian Walsh's mother and a local relative before being placed with the DCF. The DCF has not provided specific details on the children's current location or foster placement due to privacy laws. And I don't see anything past like 2023, sorry, that say specifically where they are. So yeah, great question. Let's see, the kids were born, I think we found out it was 2017. No, let's see, 2015. I think it was between 6 and 10, I think is where we are. Yeah. Yeah, sad for the kids, for sure. The whole thing is just terrible. This guy, this monster, right? You think about that. Not only did he take away their mother, but through his actions, he took away their entire life, everything that's normal to them is now gone because of his actions. And he thought he was smart enough. He thought he was so smart. Cut her up, take her to different places. It's just wow. My goodness. So bad. So bad. All right, let's go to the next clip that I prepared. This one has to do with the federal monitoring. Remember, he has a GPS monitor from being federally indicted, I think. Here we go.
Commonwealth's motion number 12 to admit evidence concerning the defendant's federal charges. And the defense is opposing in part. I'll hear from the Commonwealth first on this one.
Your Honor, we have actually attempted to develop a stipulation. The Commonwealth had sent it to the defense, and we haven't heard back as to whether that is something they wanted to stipulate to. We had been working on potentially reaching an agreement as to what information about the federal charges would come in.
All right. Well, to aid you in your discussions, it seems to me, and this actually overlaps with regard to the one of the other motions with regard to the interviews. I understand the importance of the federal case in terms of the Commonwealth's argument with regard to motive, and particularly the timeliness of certain information vis-a-vis the time that the Commonwealth indicates that they believe the defendant did the acts that he's charged with. And the one area that I wanted to probe so that I have the information firmly in my mind, what the evidentiary significance of it is, the weight of it versus the prejudice, is the GPS. So my memory from prior proceedings on this case is that the GPS was not the way that the Commonwealth found out that Brian Walshe was at various places.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right.
It was not a GPS bracelet.
What was it?
It was a radio frequency bracelet that would go off if he went a certain distance from the home, and he would have allotted amount of time to leave the home to perform errands and drive the children.
Okay. So there's no evidentiary, there's nobody coming in and saying based on his bracelet, he was at X, Y, and Z. They found that from the phone, right?
That is correct, Your Honor. They found
All
it
right.
through the two phones.
So that seems to me to be both in the transcripts and also just to the extent that it's in any of the federal papers as a condition of release, highly prejudicial. And I'm not inclined to let the jury hear about that. It's not relevant to their decision making, and they may, even if I give them a limiting instruction, may make it difficult for them to accept the limiting instruction. It doesn't have any evidentiary value.
Okay.
So anything with regard to both in the interviews, which I know we're tabling for later on, and or in the federal records, that seems to me to have very little evidentiary value to the Commonwealth and has a potential for prejudice to the defense. So that won't be in.
Understanding you've made a ruling, can I make an attempt to change your mind?
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. So with the defendant's ability to have windows of time that allowed him freedom to leave from the house, it allows the Commonwealth to show the premeditated nature of this crime and that he had windows to clean up after the crime was occurred.
That's a different thing, though. The fact that he has windows of time that or certain parameters that he has to be at home, and that comes up in the interview at one point when Attorney Minor makes mention of
Yes.
that. I don't know what we're doing with that yet, but
Okay.
putting that to the side, I don't think that what you just said about windows is the same thing as I'm saying about being on an electronic bracelet.
Okay. Okay. Because
I think there's different prejudice that attaches to those two things. The fact that he had restrictions, that he was on federal supervised release, and that he had some restrictions is going to be known to the jury. It's integral to the case. But the fact that he's on an electronic monitoring bracelet is a different thing,
Okay.
in my mind.
Thank you, Your Honor. I understand your rule.
But keep on objecting, as I know you will. But that's sort of the dividing line that I'm drawing in my mind's eye right now. And keep on working on the stipulation.
So I think that she's I don't know. I think this case is being set up to favor the defense, if I'm going to be honest. That's what I think is happening here. I don't know. She probably has some legal reason, some case law or something like that. But it does seem like this is favoring the defense as it goes along.
Paper number 199 is Commonwealth's motion in limine number
This is my last clip, by the way. Then we'll do some final thoughts.
13. It's to admit the victim's out-of-court statements, evidence of her state of mind, and the defendant's motive to kill her. The defendant is opposing it in part. I'll hear from the Commonwealth first.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth would seek to introduce the victim's out-of-court statements to Alyssa Kirby and to Mr. Mutlu and to Mr. Fastow as to her state of mind, which was known to the defendant. Your Honor, certainly the defendant, the evidence will show that the victim had a meeting with a friend, Ms. Kirby, on the 29th of December and told her about the big argument they had had over Christmas.
Give me a timeline because I want to have this in my head. She comes home on Christmas Day.
Yes.
Anna comes home on Christmas Day. She drives because she missed the flight. She spends much of the day driving, and then she gets there on the afternoon, evening of the 25th.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it'd be around 8 o'clock.
When did she drive back?
She leaves on the 26th of December.
Okay. And she drove back to D.C.
And she drove back to D.C.
And then she returns back to Boston by flight on the 30th.
On the 30th.
All right, that's helpful. All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, on the 29th, when she's still in D.C., the night before her return to Boston.
Just so we know, driving from Boston to DC or vice versa is about a 7-hour drive.
She goes out to dinner with her friend Alyssa Kirby and talks about the big fight that she and the defendant had, and tells Alyssa Kirby.
She'd been home for Christmas.
Yes, over the Christmas break, or the day that she was home. She tells her about that big fight, that she gave the defendant an ultimatum, that she had learned that the reason the children weren't with her was because of the defendant and his attorney, and that she had told him essentially to just resolve the case, even if it meant taking jail as a result. And I know Your Honor has reviewed the paperwork, and it is a little more detailed, some of the statements of the grand jury. Your Honor, I would suggest that this is admissible because certainly it shows the victim's state of mind, that she is prepared to do what she needs to do to take her children down to D.C. to be with her. She had a very highly compensated job, and I know Your Honor is familiar with the circumstances of her moving to D.C. without the defendant and the children. I suggest that that is certainly known to the defendant. He acknowledged and alluded to a big fight over Christmas in the recorded interviews, and indeed said that he had learned after fighting with the victim previously over Christmas, and I believe he said Thanksgiving, that he was not going to fight with her over her alleged need to return to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. Suggests this is highly probative of the victim's state of mind and the defendant's motive to kill her. It also shows that he is aware of this. He's searching Mr. Fastow's name. He's searching for divorce. And he is conducting those searches in between. I believe the search for Mr. Fastow was on December 25th. And then he's searching for divorce, I believe, on the 27th. His mother then hires the private investigator to investigate Anna's, whether she's behaving appropriately for a married woman. That's on the 28th. Certainly suggested all of this is highly relevant to the victim's state of mind and the defendant's motive to kill her and what happened in that home on the 1st of January. And with Mr. Mutlu, there is some testimony about Anna Walshe had some conversations with him, I believe, on the 28th. And Mr. Mutlu's testimony is a bit indicating in some of his statements that some of it he might have learned from other people, but some of it he did learn from Anna. And certainly the Commonwealth would be very careful to make sure that we were only eliciting what he learned from Anna, not something he had heard from somebody else. And I suggest that that should all be admitted in this case.
All right. Defense?
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, the problem I have is the Commonwealth is also cherry-picking parts of these conversations. The dinner that they're speaking about, her and her friend were out until 1:30 in the morning, a night that ended at a karaoke bar. So there was probably copious amounts of alcohol, I would assume.
But that goes to the weight the jury chooses to give to it.
But in the context, I think it's important. The other thing that the Commonwealth didn't seek to introduce is the fact that Alyssa Kirby at the at her grand jury testimony said that they had a very open and honest relationship, and that Anna wanted him to do whatever he had to do so the family could be together. And further, she didn't say that she wanted a divorce or was going to leave him with this ultimatum. Specifically, Anna supposedly said to Alyssa Kirby that she wanted him to choose life because he had been so depressed. And even if he had to go to jail, that will be waiting for you when you get out. Mm-hmm. So I think they're not only cherry-picking what portions of this conversation they want to put in, they're overstating the relevance, especially in light of the case law. When you look at the cases that talk about state of mind, they cite Castano. That was a situation in which the witness had told the defendant in that case that she wanted to end the relationship, that she had rejected his anniversary presents, not only was ending the relationship, but has packed up his bags. And when the police responded to the scene, there was in fact a packed suitcase of the defendant's items at the door. That is not what we have here, let alone to that level. In Martin, the statements that the government was seeking to introduce were basically statements in history of physical abuse, violence, of her trying to take the children from him. That is not what we have here. Half of the conversation to Miss Kirby was how she wanted her family together. They had an open relationship. Couples fight. So to say they had a big fight on a date, she was late for Christmas and they had 3 children. This was not earth-shattering motive to kill information. So I don't think it's fair that these conversations with Alyssa Kirby come in. And certainly if the court does see value in those statements as the case develops, then the doctrine of verbal completeness would force the court to allow all those statements to come in, because this was one conversation. So that would be our position with respect to Alyssa Kirby. With respect to Jem, I think there needs to be either a voir dire or some clearing up of what he heard from other witnesses and what he specifically heard from Anna. And again, Mr. Mutlow was with them on New Year's Eve into the 1st of January until about 1:30 in the morning. And he's also described the night is joyous, that they had a happy marriage. The federal case had been going on since 2018. They had been weathering this storm. And so, again, if they're seeking to introduce statements, I think that the full conversation would come in to show the context, and we need to figure out what exactly Mr. Mutlow heard directly from Anna.
All right. So let me give you some guideposts. The defense in its opposition cites to Qualls, which is sort of one of the earlier and seminal cases on state of mind evidence. And, but I'm not persuaded by the defense's argument with regard to what Qualls stands for in light of Castano and in light of, which for the record, Castano's at 478 Mass 75, a 2017 case, and also look at Commonwealth versus Bins, B-I-N-S. That can be found at 465 Mass 348, a 2013.
This is like the first time where they're like, hey, check this case law, check this case law, check this case law. I actually, again, I do think this does end in the defense's favor, but this judge seems very, I guess, reticent to have anything prejudicial in front of this jury.
Case at head notes 17 through 22. Under that case law and other cases that I looked at, it is very likely that I'm going to allow Anna Walsh's statements to Alyssa Kirby, the limited purpose of establishing her state of mind as is relevant to the defendant's motive to kill his wife, to the extent that such state of mind evidence includes statements describing his defendant's prior bad acts. His federal case on his statements will be admitted, and with a limiting instruction that it is limited to show the defendant's motive and not to show that he had a bad character or propensity to commit any other criminal offenses. There's limiting instruction.
Which is really interesting because he did have a bad character and he did have all sorts of things to show that he had a propensity to this.
That is posited by the court, the SJC and Bins. It's on the bottom of top of page 419. Take a look at it. That's what I'm likely going to give you. I think that the parties need to do a little bit more work with Jem, and they will, as the Commonwealth gets ready to prep him for his trial testimony, and obviously be in touch with the defense with regard to what that pretrial work reveals with regard to statements that were made directly to him from Anna as opposed to third-party other evidence that would not be admissible.
Yes, Your Honor.
With respect to William Fasto, there's one notable exclusion or sustained you're going to hear. The statement that she makes to Mr. Fasto about she doesn't know what the defendant would do if he were to find out about the affair is not her state of mind evidence and is not admissible and is prejudicial. So don't go there.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then, of course, with regard to the doctrine of completeness, I think the defense has an argument there. And so I'm inclined to let them bring in the other statements. And you can oppose it if you want, but that's sort of the guidepost that I'm setting right now.
Understood.
I think
Paper number one.
Oops, I think that's about it. So I think what I take from this, guys, is that the defense they're being set up to be able to rigorously and successfully defend their client. Now, I'm hoping that a jury will see all the evidence and go, no, nah, you're guilty and you need to go. That's what I'm hoping. Let's see a couple more comments from you guys, and then we will finish up with 3 questions. Let's see. Julie asks, I hope you will come to CrimeCon in Vegas. Would be fun to meet you. I have applied to come to the US CrimeCon. I've applied a few times before and I haven't made it in for some reason. I don't know. I've got some people behind the scenes, including my buddy Cheryl and Dale, that is kind of advocating on my behalf. So hopefully I will be at CrimeCon. Julie Martino also says, as a jury, I wouldn't care if she had an affair. Yep. A lot of people share your share your thought there. Let's see if a couple more that come in. That the one place I don't want to visit in the U.S. is Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas is my least favorite place. I used to have to go there at least once a year, and I just don't really like it. However, I would like to go to CrimeCon. So, and I'm not sure where they're holding it in Vegas. That makes a difference. Let me take a look at it. CrimeCon Vegas venue. What's the venue? It is Caesar's Palace. Ugh. I mean, I'd almost rather be shot. Not dead, just like a flesh wound, but I will go if they are keen to let me be there. Tiff says, are they able to get in his art fraud? I believe so, yes. Yes, that is going to happen. Las Vegas Medi Pedi Spa says Vegas is good to me. Yeah, I just, it's not my favorite place in the world. Now, I lived in Reno. We did. Our whole family, we lived in Reno for 3 years. Loved it. And we've got family in Vegas. In fact, John Fish Jewelers there on Sahara was founded by my great uncle Jack. And I love going to see my dad's cousins. And plus, I kind of want a John Fish watch. So anyway, let's see. You can do what Chris McDonough did and not have a booth. They just walked around and met everyone. Maybe I do something like that. That actually sounds nice, not to have to be tied to the table. So maybe Kimberly and I would do that. See if anything. Let's see. Judy is done with CrimeCon. Wow. Okay. Anywho. All right. Let's do 3 questions, shall we? Here we go.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! Okay. Let's see. Our 3 questions. By the way, 3 questions with Gavin Fish. You can send your questions to 3questions@gavinfish.com. This is just something we like to do fun at the end of the live stream, just to talk about stuff. Hopefully that's a little less deflating than murder and maybe we talk about things that are a little bit more uplifting. I can't remember what our questions were. First question, what things, little or big, do you feel hold your beautiful long-term love story together? What has gotten you two through challenges? Well, okay, first of all, professional quibble here. That is 2 questions. That's a 2-part question, but I'll allow it. Okay, so the question is, what things, little or big, do you feel hold your beautiful long-term love story together? What has gotten you two through challenges? Okay, sure. Our secret to a long and happy marriage is very simple, and this is something that we do with our children. Okay, so we have basically 2 batches of children. We have our olders and our littles. That's what we call them. There's a little less than a 10-year gap between child number 3 and child number 4. So we have 3 olders, we have 2 littles. So we've done it, but we've done it the same with both of them. So what we would tell them is, like, let's take our littles, right? If our littles are fighting, we have a little boy and a little girl. And if they're fighting, we will stop and we will say, hey, we'll say to our son, what is your job? And he goes, oh, they hate that question. What is your job? To make her happy. Okay, then we go over to our daughter. What's your job? To make him happy. Okay, well, do your job. That's what we do. And that's what Kimberly and I do. My job is to make her happy. Her job is to make me happy. And we both work hard at our jobs. And then like, in order to receive forgiveness and grace from other people, you have to extend that, right? So when I'm not at my best, she remembers what I look like when I am. And when she's not at her best, which hardly ever, I can't even think of a time. But if it does happen in the future, I will just remember that what she is like when she's at her absolute best, when she's at her worst. Did I say that right? Anyway, you know what I mean? It's just like, just extend a lot of grace, a lot of forgiveness, and be happy together. We laugh a lot. I am a big tease, and she is someone who can take it and just rolls her eyes and kind of goes with the punches. Yeah, that's how our relationship is. We just have a lot of fun together. We like to spend as much time as we can with one another. We do each one of us has expectations of ourselves and each other in our relationship, and we hold ourselves to those. And then when we mess up or we don't quite live up to it, the other is just very forgiving, and it's that easy. My job is to make her happy. Her job is to make me happy. She's very good at her job. I do okay. And it's that easy. It is that easy. What has gotten us two through challenges? You know, when we lived in Reno, we had a really hard time because we had gotten to Reno. I don't want to I'm not going to give tons of details on this, but what had happened is we had sold a business, we had sold a couple homes, and we had lots of cash and we had lots of credit. And we used that to start a business in Reno. And that business was unsuccessful very quickly and got us, it didn't get us, we got ourselves deep into debt. So we went through all of our cash, got ourselves deep into debt. That made me have to look for a job, and the only thing that I could find at the time was like mortgage banking. And she was her craft is fitness, but you can only teach so many classes in a week your body has limits, right? So, but she got a job waitressing at Denny's, so she's working 2 very demanding physical jobs. And then I got a second job, first as a cab driver, then as a limo driver at night. I was working, during the day, I was working 5 days a week, and at night I was working 4. I was getting something like 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep a day, maybe another hour during my lunch break. And she was working, I mean, almost as much. It was very, very tough. Now, I don't know what we did to get ourselves through the challenges other than depend on one another. What she was doing was super important. What I was doing was super important. And we just worked hard together. And, the same thing has kind of happened out here in Pennsylvania when COVID hit. My clientele withered away because they were forced to close their doors, and we had to think quickly. And we started this YouTube channel, and I went to work as a reporter. And Kimberly, who is teaching a lot of fitness classes, went back to waitressing, and we just, it's just been in the last maybe 3 or 4 months that we're able to finally have our noses above water. But we just work well together. We depend on one another. My job is to make her happy. Her job is to make me happy. And together, hopefully we make our kiddos happy. That's it. That is it. Question number 2. What's the hardest truth you've ever had to accept about yourself? Oh. Wow. Is Surviving the Survivor here tonight? Oh my goodness. You guys. Look at this. Thank you so much, Joel and Carm. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so the question is, what's the hardest truth you've ever had to accept about yourself? Okay, so I am a pretty introspective person, and I try really hard to be honest with myself and understand. I mean, today, Kimberly and I had a conversation about the stuff that we're doing together, the hard work that we're doing, and what does success look like, and everything. And it was one of those moments where I had to have, like, oh my goodness, yeah, we're actually in a harder position than I thought we were. Those are very difficult for me. I think when I was a young man, though, before learning to do my weekly, I call them self-inventories. Before learning to do that, I do them every Sunday night. I do a self-inventory. I kind of check to see who I am, see if I like who I am, see the kind of things that I want to improve, give myself attaboys for the things that I like about myself. But before I started doing that, or was taught to do that, I really was kind of a cocky, full of myself, really too confident for my actual abilities kind of a kid. Now, that was by design a little bit. My parents always said that it's way easier to bring your kids down a couple notches than it is to build them up. And so they worked hard to build up our confidence, all of us kids. And they're right. I mean, it is way easier to knock a child down than it is to build a child up, right? So I was cocky and arrogant and self-confident by design. My parents designed it that way, and they did a very good job of it. Now, when I finally, actually, it was probably at Reno. It was probably in Reno when that company failed that I experienced my very first actual failure. And we've talked about this on the channel before, that it's not that I'm just good at everything. It's that I'm fearful of failure so much that I tend not to do anything that I don't believe that I will do well. And that is a personality flaw for sure. But I think it was in Reno when we had that giant, colossal failure that I realized, you're just not as cool as you think you are. I think that's, yeah. So the hardest truth I ever had to face is you're not as great as you think you are, Gavin. Pull her back a little bit, will you? Last question of 3 questions. And remember, send them to 3questions@gavinfish.com. I love these questions. If you could erase one memory, would you? And if so, which one? No, I don't think I would erase any memories. I think there are things that and I was about to say there are things that I regret. I don't regret anything. I grieve some things. with regret, it feels like that is an emotion that is wasted and there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So just learn from that mistake and do better next time. That's how I think about it. However, there are some things that I grieve, that I wish I would have done differently, or I wish I wouldn't have done, or I wish I would have done. There's a lot of that stuff. Some of them I still grieve, right? I'm really sad at my behavior. And there's a person that I'm really hoping someday I'll be able to have a conversation with, and if that person ever like asks for a defense of my behavior, all I'll be able to say is that there is no defense other than the dull-holedness of youth, right? I'm really sorry for the way I behaved, but I don't want to erase the memory. Never, never, never. Yeah. A couple comments before we call it a day. Let's see. Thanks again to Joel and Carm and the COE. Doesn't look like anything else came in. So pretty great. I mean, Dashell said, Gavin, I love that. I think you're talking probably about what is your job? Yeah, that's what I like. That's how we do it. Let's see if there's anything else. My best failure was a 3 series. Okay. Moon, you're most welcome. I guess that's it for tonight, guys, and we've been going for a while, so let's call it. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for Surviving the Survivor for joining us tonight. Joel, by the way, I sent you an email a little bit earlier today. I hope that you see it, and maybe we can chat about that in the next few days. Karen says, hey, Gavin, it's my 59th birthday today. Karen, happy birthday. That is terrific. And I'm looking at your little, and I'm not just saying this, I'm looking at your avatar, your icon there, and you may be the most beautiful 59-year-old I've ever seen. Wow. Just stunning. I hope you have a terrific day. I hope it has been awesome. Surviving the Survivor says, I got an email back already. Sweet. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Happy birthday to Karen. May you all just have a terrific evening. We will see each other again tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on this channel. Remember, Wednesday, we are not going to be together. Please remember to head on over to gavinfish.com if you ever want to reach out to me for anything other than 3 questions. For 3 questions, it's 3 questions at Gavin. I didn't do the outro, did I?
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! I need a better outro. I need one to be an intro, one to be an outro. But anyway, head on over to gavinfish.com. If you ever want to reach out to me, there is this little icon right here. And of course, you can interact with me over on the Fish Tank on Facebook. If you are on Facebook, you are hereby cordially invited to join us in the tank. With that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.